When he first came in the game, I knew he was gonna be the next biggest thing.
The only person that put on for me when I ain't have nobody was Drake.
Drake is always gonna be in my good graces because he did something I'll never forget.
So whenever you think Drake, you're like, yo, let me go to Drake and get a radio single real quick.
In Drake's mind, Ye told Push about my son.
The fact that it's people thinking that you f my wife and you're not saying nothing and you carrying it like that don't sit well with my spirit.
Drake a genius. Despite me disrespecting him as a man, I respect that career.
The further we get, the more you forget the early stages.
Now, if that intro gave you goosebumps, let me know by hitting that like button. Now, Aubrey Drake Graham, he lived two lives. During the school year, he would be living with his mom in an upscale Toronto neighborhood, and during the summer, he was living with his dad in the rough and tough streets of Memphis, Tennessee. Now, it was this kind of diversity that gave the shy Canadian kid a unique perspective on life. Longing to share this insight through music, he simply needed to find the right push from someone experienced. Now, it was during his father's incarceration that Drake would be introduced to a cellmate by the name of Poverty, and this would be a man that would help push Drake through the door. Yeah, I got a feeling this is part of the story you haven't heard before. Now, with the 2010s coming to a close, literally the end of an era, well, arguably one of the biggest stars of this generation has got to be Drizzy Drake. Now, since emerging onto the mainstream music scene around 2009, well, no celebrity has had quite the prolific rise to fame as the Toronto rapper whose shirt I'm currently rocking. Now, as the man once said himself, they just mad because I got the Midas Touch. Now, in many ways, this is true. Pretty much everything he touches, it turns into gold. Or should I say platinum? With 5 albums, 6 mixtapes, 35 Grammy nods, an OVO record label, his own music festival, restaurants, his own whiskey line, and some dope merch, well, he's pretty much got it all. He's even got a few catchphrases.
So the six.
It's a Toronto thing.
Yeah, it derives from like, with our area code's 416. We were debating on the 4, but then I just went tail end on them and I went 6.
One can only guess what the next decade has in store for Aubrey Graham. Now, today we're gonna look back at the man behind the fame. And I gotta give Drake some major thanks because our earlier videos on him really helped launch this channel. And this time, well, we're rolling out the red carpet because I wanna give him a good review. I don't need no tree, no forest.
You know what I'm saying? 3 out of 10 for sure, you know what I'm saying? Trust me. Siskel and Ebert thing, dog. Trust me.
10? You can't just last with that 10, bro.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Michael McCrudden, documenting the life and career of Drake prior to fame. Here for you, of course, on Before They're Famous, and this is an epic bio. Now, you guys seem to enjoy these updates, and we want to always take things to the next level. And we've done epics on the likes of Cardi B, Eminem, and Billie Eilish. That's just naming a few. We need you to let us know who to do next in the comments down below. Toronto in the 80s wasn't known for a whole lot. While this Canadian city did boast an impressive hockey team and a soon-to-be amazing baseball squad, it wasn't exactly tourist central. In fact, famous entertainers, the likes of Jim Carrey, Avril Lavigne, Mike Myers, and eventually Justin Bieber, they had to move south of the border to actually make it an entertainment. Before Drake, it seemed like a relatively unknown city on the global scene. It's known for its CN Tower, sure, its harsh winters, the 416 area code, and a few television shows. And if you think I'm gonna say Degrassi, we're not at that part of the story just yet. It was at Club Blue Note where Dennis Graham, an African-American musician, had finished the show with his band when he first laid eyes on Sandy, a girl of Jewish Canadian descent. Now, the two, they hit it off and they eventually married, giving birth to their son Aubrey Drake Graham at St. Michael's Hospital on October 24th, 1986. Now, from a young age, Aubrey, he had a tough time fitting in at school due to his mixed ethnicity. As the only student of Black and Jewish heritage at his school, well, he'd have to be taunted with racial slurs from other kids. In fact, he stated, "I went to a Jewish school where nobody understood what it was like to be Black and Jewish. When kids are young, it's hard for them to understand the makeup of religion and race." Despite the adversity he faced outside of the home, well, Drake, he was shown unconditional love for both of his parents. Now, when Aubrey was just little, his father would bring him up on stage to play the tambourine. He would also sit in on recording sessions between Dennis and Teenie Hodges, a guitarist from Tennessee, as well as Drake's late uncle. Drake also reportedly gave his old man $5 and bet Dennis that he would make more movies and music than he ever did. I guess he won that bet. Now, according to a source, Drake, he also may have taken up tap lessons as a child, although this never has been confirmed. Now, I'm not trying to out the man, so I'll give one up myself. As a kid, I was a I was a professional Irish dancer. Now things at home, they started to fall apart for Dennis and Sandy. Turbulence between them resulted in their eventual divorce in 1991. Returning to Memphis, well, Dennis soon after, he found himself in jail on some drug charges. Now Drake has stated that during his youth, his father was incarcerated on a few occasions. Now the divorce, it left 5-year-old Aubrey in the care of his now single mother, Sandy. An English teacher by trade, well, Sandy did her best to provide for her only son. Now during this time, they lived in a low-income neighborhood off of Weston Road in Toronto's West End. Sandy did everything she could to foster her young boy's interests, with him trying a little bit of everything. And being, Canadian, well, it's mandatory for all of us to do a little bit of ice hockey.
I actually went to hockey camp at UCC, Upper Canada College. I mean, you got to be all right. You got to be decent to go there, or else you'll just embarrass yourself, because there's some really talented kids there.
At 10 years old, he played on a local team known as the Weston Lions. There's reason to believe that this team, they may have switched their name to the Weston Red Wings at some point, but nevertheless, he's rumored to have been quite skilled. Now you can see 11-year-old Aubrey flexing his skills in a commercial for table hockey.
Table hockey game. Make the save or make the shot. It's all up to you.
Oh, I'm trailing by 1. Better follow your goalie.
This was certainly not Drake's only experience on the small screen. Now Drake's mom, she signed him up for modeling as well as acting auditions when he was just 5 years old. But we'll have more on that in just a second.
Yo, I'm not doing that again.
Doing what?
I'm not waiting for you while you smash.
Are you really? Is this really what's going on
This
right
is
now?
a serious face, yes.
You're spitting on me.
Drake spent his childhood on Weston Road, growing accustomed to life in Toronto. Now, unlike Montreal or Niagara Falls, Toronto was not the #1 choice for outsiders to visit. Besides a few bars, restaurants, and local music acts stopping by, it wasn't really, a place where music was bragged about. Certainly not for rap. Now, the last international rapper to come out of the city was Snow. Yeah, remember him? It wasn't until the mid-90s when the young kid from the West End, well, he would begin his first ever Toronto love affair.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Raptors are born.
The Toronto Raptors came to town in 1995, the city's first official NBA team, and people from the greater Toronto area, they would flock to the Skydome to watch Toronto's newly arrived stars hit the court. Now Drake, he developed a love for the team as well as a lifelong passion for the sport of basketball. Now Drake would eventually move with his mother into a basement of a townhouse in Forest Hill, an upper-class Jewish community close to the city's downtown. While his surroundings were slightly better than the West End, well, Drake, he still had a difficult time fitting in at school while attending Forest Hill Collegiate.
What's up, fool? You got beef? Yeah, you stupid. You stupid.
Ew.
Now he states that as he got older, he would often go to social events and house parties, and he'd get goofed on by other kids. Now despite this garbage from people, friends of his, they knew there was something special about good old Drizzy Drake. Or back in the day, Aubrey.
This funny kid with a red jumpsuit sat next to me. He had that strange personality ratio of different characteristics.
He showed off a hilarious sense of humor that people certainly haven't forgotten. Now one friend recalls him coming over as a kid and placing tinfoil around his parents' wine bottle. He then took a magic marker and labeled the bottle Cristal. Now this type of charisma, well, it would mask his mounting stress from troubles on the home front.
I'll make you a sandwich. I bought some other things.
Why couldn't you just got me that sandwich?
Because the lineup was incredible.
Drake's mom would develop rheumatoid arthritis, which forced her to go on disability. Now Aubrey's perspective on life, it wasn't limited to Toronto. Each summer, Drake, he would travel down to Memphis, Tennessee to live with his dad. And it was here that his environment, it would change drastically. Often ranked among America's most dangerous cities, not to mention having a tense history of racism, well, Memphis was like a completely different world to the kid from Canada. Staying on Appleville Street near Shelby Drive and Neely, Drake, he gained exposure to the grittier side of urban life. At the same time, he would discover more about the true importance of his family's heritage. Now, aside from his father playing drums, the Grahams, they have a rich history in music. While it's well documented that Dennis played in a band alongside Jerry Lee Lewis, two of his uncles are also known Memphis musicians. Larry Graham was a bass player for the soul funk band Sly and the Family Stone, and Teenie Hodges was a guitarist and songwriter for Al Green. Now, if you think that's enough of a legacy, it doesn't stop there. His grandmother, she used to babysit Aretha Franklin. I know, my mind's blown as well. Now Drake, he would often visit the legendary Royal Studios on Willie Mitchell Boulevard, where music icons including Chuck Berry, Buddy Guy, and Keith Richards had recorded in the past. Drake began dabbling with writing his own music in a notebook. An admirer of popular rappers including Jay-Z and, believe it or not, Pusha T. Now his expression, it came in the form of hip-hop, and his uncle, well, even took him to his first P. Diddy concert in Toronto when he was a teenager. Although this was a hobby Drake still kind of kept to himself.
What are you looking at, huh?
On the acting front, Drake, he appeared in several short films, commercials, and ads. In 2001, Drake landed the role of wheelchair-bound Jimmy Brooks on the Canadian TV series Degrassi, The Next Generation.
Done some research. There are medical options.
No. That's why I made a doctor's appointment.
Actually, once upon a time, I was a background actor on that. But enough about me, back to Drake. Drake would stay on the program for 6 years. He even dropped out of school at 15 to focus on acting and to provide for him and his mother. Now, he attended Vaughan Road Academy at the time, and his class schedule, it proved to be too hectic to maintain, alongside his acting career.
Seriously? What you need is some sleep, because it's obvious you're not getting enough oxygen to your brain.
Aubrey's character of Jimmy was no doubt one of the more popular of that era, but his true passion, it lied elsewhere, and he began growing tired of the acting life. He realized that his true potential, it lay more in music. Now, how did this come to be? Well, remember how we talked about Dennis Graham's legal troubles? Well, he had quite a few of them. In fact, Drake, he's even recalled watching his father get arrested after coming home from Memphis. Well, during one of his father's incarcerations, Aubrey, he had an unusual correspondence. He stated, "My dad went to jail for like a year. I don't even know what he was in jail for, an assault charge or a drug charge or something. When he was in there, he had a cellmate who used to rap, but he had nobody to talk to. I was probably 14, the guy was probably 21. My dad was like, my son likes to rap, I'ma let you rap for him. I'ma share my phone with you. I'm gonna pass you the phone, and here's my cellmate. Say what's up to him." The man on the other end of the phone was a rapper named Poverty, and he would spit rhymes to the teen over the phone. Now, this made Drake comfortable enough to share material he had written. Throughout the course of Dennis's incarceration, well, Drake and Poverty, they exchanged rhymes over the phone several times, and this experience had helped the performer to come out of his shell. As for Poverty's fate, well, Drake doesn't exactly know what happened to him. Now, hip-hop at this point was changing with the culture, and there were several artists gaining prominence in the new era. One of them was Lil Wayne, who was enjoying solo success with his Carter franchise, as well as a collaboration album with Birdman.
I've been a mess since every girl I left went and got a new man, but I'm the new version of Fresh Prince.
On February 14, 2006, 20-year-old Aubrey Graham, he dropped Room for Improvement. Now, the 22-track mixtape was produced in part by Toronto beatmaker Boy Wonder. For his stage name, the MC decided he'd keep it authentic and go by his middle name Drake. Room for Improvement wasn't exactly a chart topper. By the end of the year, it only sold over 6,000 copies. Now, Drake, he would also put his music online, building a MySpace page for people to visit and listen to his bangers. However, this was only made, like on a whim. I also heard through the grapevine that Drake would fly out to New York City and he'd hang around local clubs, comedy clubs, he'd be networking, he was looking to get ahead. But people weren't betting on the kid who was on Degrassi. The failure of his first mixtape only seemed to fuel his hunger for success. By 2007, he had left Degrassi to focus on music full-time. However, he could still feel the effects of Wheelchair Jimmy long after leaving. Now, many of Toronto's rap figures, they were skeptical of Drizzy's talents. Paying out of his own pocket while Drake shot the music video for Replacement Girl, the lead single off his second mixtape, appropriately titled Comeback Season.
So many ways to look corny in a music video. So getting on camera and trying to look cool is like a whole different story.
Featuring vocals by Trey Songz, Replacement Girl proved to be a winner not only in Toronto, but south of the border. Now, the track was named BET's Joint of the Month. While Comeback Season itself didn't make it onto any charts, Replacement Girl, it showed the industry what Drake was capable of. He was now looking like a viable contender for the Toronto hip-hop throne. But he still, he hadn't been signed to a label. With Replacement Girl making the rounds, it eventually caught the ear of Houston-based Jazz Prince. Now, Jazz, whose father is accomplished Rap-A-Lot Records CEO Jay Prince, well, he wanted his son to find a new artist he could possibly sign to the label. Combing the internet, he stumbled upon Drake's MySpace page, and blown away by what he heard, well, Jazz, he reached out.
I like your music. And he was like, okay. I was like, I'm gonna make you famous. He was like, I hear that a lot.
The two would communicate online with Jazz Prince, sending him beats to rap over, and while Drizzy held up his end and delivered, Jazz's father, he wasn't a fan. With Jay Prince passing, it seemed like there wasn't much hope for Drake's career. Now, the kid from Toronto had struggled for acceptance his entire life. He'd moved from place to place. He finally risked it all, leaving his cozy acting gig. On the top of that, his girlfriend, they just ended their relationship. Now, having blown several opportunities at success, it started to feel like this was the end for Drake. Drake. In November of 2008, Drake decided to head to his local barbershop one day to get a fresh cut. And while we don't know for sure, we got a good feeling this was at Prince Cut Kings, which is on Toronto's Danforth Avenue. We know for sure that Drake was once upon a time a client. Now, getting a fresh cut, his phone then began ringing.
And the phone rang, I picked it up, and it was like, yo, what's up? I was like, this doesn't sound like my friend. And he's like, yo, what's up? It's Weezy.
At the time, Lil Wayne was at the top of his game. He had recently released the Carter 3. As it turns out, after Jay Prince turned down Drake, well, Jazz went to Weezy, who at first hated what he heard. Then after a car ride listening to Drake's A Milli remix, well, he changed his mind and instantly wanted to contact him and have him fly out to Houston to meet him. Drake grabbed his passport and flew out the very next day. Landing in H-Town, well, Drizzy described feeling that he had finally got his swagger back. I know when you get dumped, it takes a little time to recover. But then when Weezy comes along, there's no looking back. Now he states when he first met Wayne, well, he was getting the most painful tattoo ever. I'm guessing if that was on his face. In February of 2009, Drake dropped So Far Gone, his third mixtape featuring appearances not only from Weezy, but Trey Songz, Lloyd, and Bun B. The effort included the single Best I Ever Had, which that summer, it blew up the radio. Not just here in good old Canada, it was everywhere. Also, the girl in the intro to that, mwah! Drake has gone on to make both of his parents extremely proud, and he's placed Toronto on the map. Not just for hip hop, literally, he put Toronto on the map globally. The Six, everyone knows it. He now holds the OVO Fest every summer by the city's Ontario Place, and he's paved the way for several other Toronto artists who have come up after him. This includes Tory Lanez and Killy. Now, while these all are amazing accomplishments, the cherry on top of his success is perhaps becoming global ambassador for his beloved Toronto Raptors. The team annually celebrates Drake Night at the Scotiabank Arena. I think I've actually been there once. I've actually seen Drake at a game. I don't think that was Drake Night. Anyway.
Everybody make some noise for the Toronto Raptors global ambassador, Drake in the building!
As for the rest of the story, well, you sure as hell know the story because we've all watched it happen. And that's all I've got for you here because this is Before They're Famous. And it was epic. And it took a lot of work. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Now do us a favor and send this video to Drake via Instagram or Twitter. If we get a retweet, if we get a like, I can retire. I feel like I've done everything I need to do. But of course there'll be more to do. But I'll just die happy, or I'll retire happy. You know what it is. Again, thanks to Candy Pens, they are our sponsor. I'll see you guys in another video. Boom!